What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Marriage and Medicine. So as of today, we have been married 6 years.
Woohoo!
Big moves, big moves. Been together for 11, but been married 6 years. It's been an amazing journey altogether. But today's episode will be just kind of a special episode talking about marriage in general.
So we've been together, like you said, for 11 years since we started college. We basically went all of college.
Like before college.
It was like not before. We didn't officially,
start
then.
dating, sure.
We met then, but anyways, we started our journey once college actually started. And so over the last 11 years, we kind of like grew up together and we've experienced a lot together. And so my question to you is, did you ever expect to get married one day?
Yeah.
That's the first part.
Yeah, absolutely. So kind of growing up, my parents were married, been together for about 25 years now.
30 years.
30 years, my bad. It was close. 25, 30, a long time. But ultimately, I've had a great view of what marriage can be like and the pros and cons of marriage. And marriage was always something that I looked forward to in the future. I didn't exactly expect to find my person like before even going to college, ultimately, really, but it all worked out altogether. So I definitely always had dreams and goals of being married.
And then the second part is marriage what you were expecting it to be?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, pretty much, I believe that it's kind of lived up to what I expected it to be from the jump. Ultimately, from my understanding, marriage is when you have a person that you're basically dedicating your life to. You want to always make sure that they're taken care of. You have somebody that you can grow and experience things with, and also have a family with. That's kind of my ultimate kind of overview of what marriage would be, and that's definitely what we have in this situation, so it's good.
And then for me, I've always known I would get married one day. Like, I didn't necessarily like dream of what my wedding or marriage would be like, but I always knew that deep down, like, I did want to get married, and I only wanted to get married one time. So like, whoever that person was, I wanted to make sure that we both put forth the effort to actually stay married. So for me, I tried to, when I dated people in the past, I would try to find like qualities that I would want my husband to have one day. Like, I didn't want to date somebody that was, abusive or something, for example, because I know ultimately I don't want my husband to be that way. So that was kind of something that helped, I guess, guide me with picking people. But yeah, overall, I would say marriage, I mean, we haven't had too many serious issues, I don't think. Like, we, of course, have things here and there, but I don't think there's ever been anything that's been, like, super devastating to be like, marriage is horrible.
Right.
So, I mean, we're only 6 years in, but I would say, like, probably a 9 out of 10, I would recommend to anybody out there.
9.9.
9, because not every day is like that great, but I would recommend it for sure. Like, everybody should just go get married. Like, not over and over and over and over. Like, take the time to really get to know somebody, but I would definitely say marriage is worth doing.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like a comfort zone. I mean, you find that person that you know is always going to be there for you, that's always going to have your back, and that you just get a chance to just experience things with. So it's very, very nice to have that kind of support system there.
Okay, so when it came for like actually getting engaged, a little backstory. At the time when it happened, so we had just been dating for 3 years, and at that time I was working at a day school where my mom was technically my boss, and then my dad was technically her boss. He was an associate pastor there, so we all worked within the same building. We were kind of like spread out, like my dad's on one side, my mom's on one side, I'm upstairs. So, but anyways, all of us worked there in one spot. So I don't really know how you were able to ask my dad to meet you to like ask his blessing, but I'll let you share that.
Yeah. So ultimately, of course, like, me and her dad have a great relationship. It's always been really good altogether. So you would think like, oh, it may not be as much of a nerve-wracking situation to ask our daughter's hand in marriage. it doesn't matter how close your relationship is, it's still going to be nerve-wracking. So basically I was able to kind of send him a quick text like, oh, can we meet for lunch? Just want to kind of run some things by you. Just real casual. Didn't really kind of do too much about it. And then I basically was able to leave from school. And then somehow he snuck away without anybody knowing to come and kind of meet. Oh yeah, mom knew, that's right.
Without you knowing. Dad went over to her side to tell her, hey, TJ, text me, blah, 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 we're going to go out to lunch or whatever. He said, I don't even know if he said, like, he wanted to talk or whatever. And my mom immediately thought, like, oh, he's going to break up with her. And
I don't know why that thought crossed her mind.
Gee, thanks. And then, like, number two, who would text somebody and be like, hey, let's meet up to talk, and I'm going to break up with your daughter?
Yeah,
like,
no.
That's what she thought was going to happen for some reason. And so she said that she was nervous for whatever conversation y'all were going to have. Yeah. But yeah, Dad went to wherever y'all went.
Yeah, we went and got some food really quick at one of the little spots up the street. We just had a good conversation, and then ultimately I was able to build up the courage to eventually, he's like, so, just what brought you here? What's going on?
He probably knew.
He probably knew. Yeah, he did. And then we just had a good conversation about it, and ultimately, of course, I got the blessing. Ultimately, it all worked out. It was a good time. We just shared some tears and those kind of things, so it was cool.
Yeah, I'm sure he went back after that and told mom, and then she was like, oh, okay. Like,
yeah,
woo.
She was good.
But I'm like, geez, he's going to break up with her. I'm like, thanks, Mom. Appreciate that.
So,
and then when we got engaged, it was actually the day after our 3-year anniversary, which we had already kind of talked about possibly getting married. And like, it wasn't like it was just completely out of the blue. That was something we had already been talking about, because I knew that he was going to be going to medical school and all of that. So if that were to happen, that was something that I was going to have to like be a part of.
Right.
So anyway, we went to the Cheesecake Factory. And I could tell something was different because TJ was dressed up. Like, he had a shirt and tie and a vest, and I'm like, he never dresses up when we go out on dates like that.
Anniversary dinner,
like, no. Even on any of the anniversary dinners, I'm like, he never does that. So that was like, And then I think when I was getting ready, I think I slightly overheard y'all like talking about it, like you and my parents, or you were showing them the ring. I don't know. But I didn't hear really what was being said. I just heard like mumbling, whatever. But anyway, so we went, and the whole night I was kind of nervous because I was like, I don't really know for sure if it's going to happen or not. And then because I was nervous, then I was like, didn't really want to eat. I was just like, I don't feel good.
It was a waste of a meal.
Basically.
Money down the
I don't think you even really ate.
I didn't really eat either. No, not much.
And then,
I took it home though and ate it.
Yeah, I didn't even bother. And then towards the end, we ordered dessert. And then the guy was like, he had said something like, oh, you need to come.
Yeah, come and verify something.
Come confirm whatever. Yeah. Like, I think we might have mixed your order up with somebody else's order. And TJ was like, that doesn't make sense. So he went off to do whatever. And I didn't even think anything about it. I'm just like, okay, whatever. And he came back and he's like, oh yeah, they just mixed it up. So anyways, they bring out a whole cheesecake. It was like a smaller one. And they had wrote around the plate, will you marry me? And that was basically.
That was it. Got down on my knee, got her little ring.
And you were like, if they didn't have that cake, he was worried because
I didn't know what was about to happen.
He didn't know if they actually like lost the cake or whatever, but they just said that because they wanted to confirm privately if we were the actual couple. But he was like trying to plan how he was going to propose if that didn't work out.
I had like a whole plan B. I was going to walk outside and go in front of like these little water fountain things going and everything. I was like, that's my backup. Hopefully this works out. We'll see.
Yeah, because I was always like, I never really wanted like a big over-the-top proposal or whatever, because I was like, I don't want all these people looking at me, and like
she don't like the attention.
The attention is just like awkward. You're like have to be overly dramatic and emotional or whatever, and I was just like, that was something I know we had talked about too. I'm like, I just rather like be
keep
quiet
it on the sneak tip.
and like go to dinner. I think I even was like, it'd just be us. We don't have to bring any family or anybody.
She don't want no attention on her at all.
But that's how it ended up being. There was literally like one couple in the same vicinity that we were in, so it was very low key.
Yeah, it was cool.
Which I liked anyway.
Yeah, so I mean, ultimately, that's kind of how we started our journey off, kind of started our marriage journey. And here we are, 6 years later. Got a little, got some experience, got some years in there, exactly. Got a little experience with it. And with that comes advice altogether. So one thing that I would say in terms of advice for marriage, kind of my main thing would be go into it with the idea that divorce is not an option. If divorce is ever an option within your marriage, when things get rough, when things get a little rocky, you're going to always kind of have that little voice in the back of your head like, you know, maybe there's somebody else out there for me. Maybe we need to end this now. And if you continue with that mindset, eventually it's going to get to the point where you're actually considering it. That's why it kind of seems the divorce rate is so high now. People just it just kind of gets tossed out there pretty casually, and people are very willing to jump out and escape, essentially. When in actuality, you really have to take the time to adjust your expectations, adjust your marriage, and get it and kind of mold it into what you need, essentially, in your life, instead of looking for the next best thing. But what's your option? What's your advice that you would give?
Well, it's not really something I would give. I guess it was something I heard. I did a devotional recently, and it was saying that your relationships are only as healthy as you are. And so basically what they were saying is that, like, if you're not a whole or complete person on your own, or like in the right mindset, you'll like look for other people or relationships to like complete you, basically. Like you'll always be searching for somebody else to fill a void that you feel like is missing within yourself. And so they were saying that you need to be a whole, complete person on your own before you even like go to get in a relationship with anybody. And I like that because it's like, if you're not, you always kind of like look to your person to like validate you or reassure you on things like, oh, if I don't like the way I look, like, well, do you think I look whatever? Or like constantly wanting them to tell you how you should already feel about yourself.
You look good though, just in case you was wondering. You look good.
Thanks. So I liked that because I was like, that's a good point. Like when you have low self-esteem and you just don't have good positive self-talk, and then you're like, go find somebody else and you're like constantly, almost like you're putting the pressure on that person to be that for you when you should already be trying to do those things for yourself. So that's what I would say would be the best advice so far I've heard as far as relationships or just marriage. So if you have any other marriage advice out there or something that you feel like has helped with your marriage being successful, feel free to share them with us because we're only 6 years in. We still have a long way, hopefully a long way to go. So share those down in the comments, and don't forget to follow us on Instagram at marriage, the letter N, and medicine. I'll also put that in the details section, but we will see you in the next video.
Peace.